Okay, so first meaningful video here on some things I want to talk about and expose. And this first topic really gets me angry, and it's something that's common. Um, Stalking charges, harassment charges, personal protection orders used by women. Now, there's a reason for this, right? I mean, if you're really getting stalked, or you're really getting abused, or there's an ex-boyfriend coming after you for real, like, okay, there's a reason these are good things to have. I'm going to start that off right off the bat saying that. But a lot of women use it as a game, and just a way to get to you, a way to prevent you from seeing your children, um, et cetera, et cetera. And basically, I'm gonna go through real quickly some of what are the things, a lot of things I had to deal with when I'm not perfect. I haven't done everything perfect. Um, but as a parent, I mean, I did the best I could. Yes, I made mistakes. Looking back, would I have done some things differently? Of course. But I didn't deserve to get treated like a man who is abusive and beats up women and children, which is how I'm treated. Like if I go up to my kid's teacher or a psychologist or something like that in the past, oh yeah, you're the guy that beats up kids and is abusive, and yeah, we know all about you. No, that's not me. I don't do that. I would never lay a hand. I've never laid a hand on a woman, period, let alone my own kid. So get that out of the way right now. Yeah, I'm treated like I beat the crap out of my kid every day, to be honest with you. So, real quick here, what I want to talk about is to start things off. When my kid was born, I was not allowed to see my kid. I went to the mom's apartment. She wouldn't let me see her. I mean, virtually the day she was born, I could not see her at all. And I don't know why. I was never told why. Apparently, the mom was mad at me, and I don't know why because she never communicates. We didn't see each other much during the pregnancy, but I was 3.5 hours away. I didn't really accept it or had a hard time with it. But the day she was born, I'm like, oh shit. It came to be more realistic that yes, you know, it kind of hit home more, I would say. So yeah, I tried seeing my kid and was willing to move to Grand Rapids, but nope, you're not seeing your kid. And as I consistently tried to, it didn't matter, and I don't know why. And I feel like that's blatant kidnapping. But of course, all they tell you is you go in front of a judge. I went to attorneys and they did nothing. But the point of this video is really to talk about she filed a personal protection order that says, you're not allowed to come around, which means I couldn't try to come see my kid because I'd be breaking a PPO. And I think a lot of moms, they turn around and say, oh, no, I don't want him around. So I'm just going to file a PPO and then he can't come around and I don't have to worry about him coming around trying to see his kid. Um, if the father never did anything to make you think that he would actually hurt you or harm you, personal protection order is not correct and should not be used because basically what it does is it puts not only the guy in trouble, but like a PPO will turn around and make the person that's getting served the PPO like they can't have a gun in the house. They can't. They're not allowed to do certain things. So and you're not allowed to leave the state. Da 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 da. There's all these things that come along with getting served a PPO when the guy is could be as good cute as a kitten and never hurt anybody, but the mom files it because she don't want the guy around, then they get signed. They automatically get signed. There's never a notice of a hearing. It's just boom, here's the PPO. There's never let's hear both sides of the story and see if a PPO is warranted. That's not how the legal system works. They just sign them and give them like candy, which is wrong. It's wrong because there's legal ramifications to getting served and dealing with a PPO. And like I said, like you can't have a gun, you can't leave the state. There's other things, and it's like let the guy let there be a hearing before just signing off a PPO. But they just sign them off with no hearing, no nothing, and I think that's wrong. So we had that. I had a PPO, and then from now on we have to meet at the police station because he's dangerous. I want to meet at the police stations because I'm scared, which is a load of crap. I never touched the mother. I never did nothing. I got upset after not being having my kid taken from me, never being able to see her for years. I think anybody would be understandably upset at that. If I turn around and you have a baby and I turn around and take your baby from you for 2 years as the mom and you can't see your baby, you have every right to lose your mind and get upset. But if you're the dad, tough shit. So that's the way the system's set up. Later on, as my kid was growing up and I started being able to see her, which took forever, I would get calls from Child Protective Services. And I was like, what is this about? Right. So they would call me in, and my kid, when she was little, she got a bump on the head. And I asked her what happened. She had a bump on her head, and she said she fell off the bed. Um, so that's what happened. God's honest truth. Well, of course, the mom takes pictures, doesn't talk to me at all, just takes pictures and turns around and sends them to the PPO. And I don't remember. I thought it happened at her place, but it could have been at mine. I don't even remember. I thought of it as like, accidents happen with kids. They bump their heads, they bump their knees, and not a big deal. But of course, any little thing turns out to a huge deal. And the problem with that is not only is it affecting, me trying to get me in legal trouble, but it's affecting the kid. Like, she's turning around and makes every little thing that happens, oh, dad did this. And I think she liked doing that because the mother responded favorably to her. Oh, yeah, really, I've been looking for something on him or something. So, I remember I used to smoke years ago. Been 20 some years since I smoked, but I used to smoke. And one time my daughter come up and wasn't paying attention, and I bumped her on the hand with a cigarette accidentally. And it was like, oh, sorry, hon. Geez, I didn't see you there. And it turned into going back to mom. Mom says, "Oh, what's that? Oh, dad burnt me with a cigarette." And then we go to court, and it turns into dad purposely burns her with cigarettes. I'm not kidding you. I had to try defending myself of somebody that burns their kids with cigarettes. No, I don't burn my kids with cigarettes. I accidentally bumped her. It was a pure accident, and it was not a big deal. But of course, it turned into a big deal, and it turned into a big deal in front of the kid. This is all bad because it's putting in her head that, oh, dad's purposely trying to hurt you or something, right? And but no, it was just accidents happen. Um, so anyway, CPS called me up with the bump on the head, and turned around and the bump on the head. And what is this? I look at you doing to your child. Like, here you're burning her with cigarettes, and now look at a big old bump on the head. And I was so pissed off because I'm like, she's doing this to try to get me in trouble or something. I don't know what her agenda is, because the mom won't talk to me, never lets me see the kid, but and gets angry because I get to see her now. But I told them, hey, she bumped her head, fallen on the bed, and that's what happened. And but I got called into CPS. Like I said, there was a big investigation. I had to go drive 3.5 hours to go see the CPS because I'm in Detroit and they're in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So again, everything gets turned into, I'm going to go call the child protective services, and instead of what happened, the mother damn well knows or should know that I never abused her or hurt her, just like my own kids, that. But, I don't understand because there's no communication of what's going on in the head, but um in their head. But I mean, so this is the kind of stuff that I've had to deal with. Um, so I mean, the mom no showed for months, and the judge said I couldn't see my kid. Um, and there was always issues of alienation where I would not see my kid for weeks and then be able to see her again, and then she would not want to see me, and there was no reason for it. Like, and then once I sat down and talked to her, one of the last times I talked to her, I said, "Hey, if there's something that's going on in your head, and there's a reason, and you're throwing a temper tantrum about seeing me, why? Let's talk. Don't see me. Communicate with me." Well, apparently that went out one ear and out the other, because the same thing happened later on. She was kept from me, and I knew as soon as she was kept from me and I wasn't able to communicate with her, it was probably more and more of dad was abusive and dad was this, and which is, ridiculous. Like I said, I'm not perfect, but I'm not I felt like I was more of the parent, and I tried to be more of the friend. But I don't know. Anyway, so anyway, later on I took her phone from her when she was keeping it from me. And she wanted to call CPS. Oh, call CPS. I'm calling Child Protective Services, when she was a teenager. And there's a reason I took her phone. And it was because weeks earlier, I saw her texting that she said she was raped. And when I confronted her about that and I said, what don't I know? talk to me, she wouldn't talk to me. She said, "No, it was just not for real." But reading the text message, and the only reason I read it is because it was sitting on there, and it was on, and I picked it up, and I saw that. I mean, it was like one of those things that just happened. It wasn't like searching through her stuff. I just happened to see it, and it was like, whoa, you know. So when I when later on, and she's got her phone, and she's sitting there, and I said, "Let me see your phone." She's like, "No," she wouldn't let me see it. I was angry, and I ripped it out of her hands because I said, "I wanted to see the truth. Nobody's talking to me, and what's going on? Is something really going on that I should know about?" But nobody talked to me, right? And I was really concerned, as any dad would, reading something like that. Um, but, she wanted to call Child Protective Services, and it was a huge thing, and I talked to her counselor, and it was like, "Oh, you must have been doing something," and I'm like, I don't even remember even replying to that because I was so just blown away. Sometimes I'm just so blown away, I can't even respond at the moment because it's just like, "What?" You know? So, I go back and I think about, well, I should have said this or should have talked to the counselor and explained really what happened. But I just was like, something happens big and you're just like, what's going on? And just, you're kind of like, I don't know, kind of thrown off as far as what to say. But basically, the next morning I apologized and I said, look, I didn't handle this the best way, but this is, and I actually said that, and apparently, apparently that wasn't good enough. It wasn't, you know, she didn't forgive me because it was went straight to the counselor, and the counselor, like everybody else, treats me like I abuse her, which is ridiculous. I never laid a hand on her. The closest I ever did was ripping her phone out of her hand, um, and I got treated like I was some abuser, So anyway, um, I didn't see her for years. I tried. She didn't want me to come to her graduation, which was upsetting. I was halfway there when I got told that by my own mother, and I should have just gone anyway. But I was like, okay, fine. Um, and then, but it is your own kid. You love your own kid, even if you don't want to. Um, and that doesn't just go away, right? You still want to be there for your kid and see your kid, which I've not been able to do. I never got to see her graduate, never saw her in college, nothing, which is really hurting. Really hurts me because, you know, I didn't do anything to deserve getting treated like this. I got in a bad motorcycle accident, and then and the nurses were terrible. I needed someone to be there and give me water or something. My mom was dealing with my aunt at the time. And, there's been times, and my mom even called her, and she refused to go and see me, even though I could be dying on the bed when I had serious brain damage and my spine was fused and broken in multiple places. My legs were broken in multiple places. I was a mess, and still wouldn't come to see me, right? But I still, every few months or so, I turn around and I would send a text message or a message out saying, "Hey, look, we really need to talk. All these years have gone by. You said ready to talk when you're willing to, when you want to, and you're ready to. That's never going to happen." I explained in one of the letters I wrote, relationships don't work like that. They either get better or they get worse. You can't just abandon somebody for years and then say, "Oh, okay, I'm ready to see you now," and expect them to be all happy about it. If I abandoned her for years and then came back and I said, "Okay, now I'm ready for you," she'd have every right to be pissed at me because you don't do that to your own child. You don't do that to your own parent. You're hurting them by not allowing them to be part of your life. Period. This is not hard to comprehend or understand. It shouldn't be. Um, but and I said that, and anyway, I just every few months or so I would go ahead and I would say something, I'd send a message, and then basically I got a PPO sent at my door. A police officer gave me a PPO by her not to contact her, which really upset me because all I said was, "Hey, I want to see you. I don't think it's right you're not talking to me," etc. Things along those lines. I never called her a name. I never threatened her. I never did anything of the sort. But when I got this, I said, "Okay." Well, I turned around and um, I contacted an attorney and I said, "Look, this affects my rights." It basically says that, I can't have a gun in my house. I can't, do some other things. And I said, I want to fight this. And because all I've done is send a message every, 3 months or so, every on average 3 to 6 months, I would send something where I'd be thinking about her. And that's about average. I mean, it wasn't no every day or every week even. It was once every couple months or something, at the most. So anyway, when he did some digging into it, he found out that basically she filed there was stalking charges on me, and there was a warrant out for my arrest from a year ago, and I never knew it. Nobody notified. I'm like, what? And then I found out it was sent to my old address in Canton, Michigan, which she knew. Everyone should know that I live in Indianapolis now. Um, but anyway, I never got it. So it turns into a thing where there is something called. She did the same thing that my own. I never thought my own kid would do what she did, which is there is a stalking statute. I'm like, you're stalking your child. I'm like, how am I stalking her? I've never even been in Michigan. Um, I was in Michigan for a short time doing some work, but I live in Indianapolis, and I don't understand why, how I could be stalking her for years when I was only in Michigan a short time, and I've never gone and seen her. I've never hung outside her window or anything like that. I did say enough of this. I'm ready to just go and meet you. And she knows damn well. She should know that I would never raise him, no matter how angry I get or how hurt I am. I would never raise a finger to her or physically hurt her or anything along the lines. And if she believes that, that's from horseshit from her mother, because she knows damn well I never physically abused her. But the paperwork said I physically abused her and her mother, which is a flat out lie. She knows it, her mother knows it, and yet I'm reading court documents that says she told the police I physically abused her and her mother. And so, I mean, so I had to get a lawyer. I had to fight these stalking charges. This was used, her mom used it against me. She's using it against me. And it's basically if you send messages, like she'd collect messages over the last 8 years and put them all together. Like I sent that many messages in 2 weeks, which is then so it looks like I'm harassing and crazy. Number one, if you don't want some to read someone's messages, there's something real simple you can do. There's something called block on your email. You know, you don't like the text or phone calls, you can block them on your phone. That's what you do. That's what I do when I get harassing stuff from people. I've gotten things that were just horrible, like pictures of mutilated bodies. Says you need to do whatever. Or we're gonna turn around and we're gonna come after your family if you don't give us money, like shit like that. These are like scammers from India or some shit. And I actually called the IRS once on that, and they're like, "Dude, just block them. Why are you bugging us?" And I'm like, "Because this is freaking horrible and this is wrong. That's why you should stop it." But they just say, but just block it. Just click block on your phone. That's all you have to do if you don't want to hear from somebody. You know, it's it's that simple, really. But instead of just blocking, you just turn around and oh, it's harassment, and they can use this as okay, you're harassing this person when there was nothing harassing about it. It was just, hey, I wanted to see you. Um, because you're my own kid. And I personally think the reason she all of a sudden didn't want to see me when I didn't see her for long periods of time was the same reason her mom would act like, I purposely burned her with cigarettes in front of her and saying this and that bad about me. And, it all happened when all of a sudden a new guy came into mom's life. So, I'm sure they're talking constantly bad about me. So, and she's buying it. She's buying all this stuff that's being said to her, thinking her mom wouldn't lie. So, I mean, even if her mom believes this wrong stuff, it's wrong. It's not true. So, you know, people believe stuff, but it's talk to the source. If I hear something somebody said something about somebody that this person did this, I take everything with a grain of salt because you don't know if it's true. People make up shit all the time and spread rumors and stuff. So anyway, kind of rambling on there, but so basically, my own kid filed that you can file stalking charges, which is basically just sending messages and they don't want it. And instead of putting a block on it, they turn around and run to the police saying that you're trying to come after them or something. And they just turn around and file charges. And it's like, and I looked at the history and it's like no, we're not filing charges. This is ridiculous. And you read it later, it's like, no, we're not filing the charges. This is ridiculous. And then eventually, after like 17 of them, they get a new DE in there. That's a district attorney in there that says, okay, I'm going to file charges. And then I had such a shit lawyer. This guy was horrible. Um, that he just talked me into doing a plea bargain, which I never should have done in a million years. And, oh, you want to just go away, just do a plea bargain. Well, that makes things worse. They actually had me, okay, read this statement. If you're going to plead on this plea bargain, did you purposely try to harass and intimidate your kid? No. They're like, well, you have to say yes. Like the system is set up, like, you have to say yes. And I'm like, well, that's not true. And I'm like, well, if you want to plead to this, you have to say yes. And I said, well, I'm not going to lie to a judge. I'm not going to do it. I mean, I did it when I was 20 years old. I was young, maybe a little older or something. Um, and I saw her mom for like 7, 8 years. And that whole time I never beat her, hurt her, or abused her, and she stuck with me. But apparently once she had a kid and didn't want anything to do with me, all of a sudden I'm some abusive person that horribly beats up people. But um, yeah, and then people just buy this stuff, no proof, no talking to the dad, no nothing. Just we're gonna file charges, and to file charges against your own parents, your own dad that's fought like hell to try to see you and loves you to death, and you know it in the back of your mind. To do this and then somehow justify hurting him, making him go through hell as if he hasn't gone through enough hell already. Um, it's wrong. It's just flat out wrong. If you don't want to talk to your parent because you don't like them for whatever reason, just block them. But to file charges against them because you can't click block and instead you have to turn around and make him feel pain, even though you're the one that abandoned him. I mean, that's the thing, is the mother broke up with me, not not the other way around. So she's the one that dumped me and didn't want anything to do with me and wouldn't let me see the kid. My kid, the same way, just dumped me, didn't want nothing to do with me, which really hurts, honestly. I can deal with the mom dumping me, but to have to go through that and not see your kid and then finally see your kid and then all of a sudden have your own kid abandon you without giving you a reason, and saying you're abusive and all this stuff. I'm not abusive. I might have raised her differently and wasn't as soft as her mother was, as far as, I was more important to me to be a parent than to be a friend. So I feel like her mother was more of a friend and I was more of a parent. And I think I remember when I first saw my kid when she was a kid, when she was little, I said, we got to go outside and do yard work. And it was like, oh, it was such a big deal. And oh my God, no way. My mom doesn't make me do this and da 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 da. And I said, well, we're going to do it because this is something you have to do. You have to learn responsibility. We got to go out and do some work. I said we'd have a work day and a play day, and this is the work day, and we had to do this. And of course, I'm the bad guy because I'm the one that's being the parent, not just coddling her like her mom did. But I said I was actually trying to parent her, and I mean, this is what I mean. Even Thalia, who was a lady that worked with us initially, that she said, boy, she just coddles her to death. And I said, I know. I want my kid to be, more independent and we got to do work to do and we got to do this and you got to do what's right. And sometimes we got to do work we don't want to do. And, you know, trying to teach her trying to be a parent more than a friend, so, and apparently this turns out to, I'm abusive and mean and, so my parenting style was different than her mother's, but it doesn't justify treating me like I'm someone that beat the shit out of her every day, which is what I'm treated like, and by the judges and lawyers and everything else. And you'll never see anything that said I physically hurt her, and because I never did, and or abused her or purposely called her names or and and I never did that. I mean, and I remember whenever she was with her mom, she would put on a lot of weight. And then when she was with me, she would lose it. And I said, well, it's important to exercise and be healthy. And, I wanted her to be skinny and attractive and be in good shape. I think that's important. I think if you're raising a child and you're just giving them junk food all the time, that's not Correct. You should be giving them healthy stuff and having them go outside and be more active, which I think she always was with me. And not when she wasn't around me, she wasn't like that because she always seemed to put on a lot of weight. So I would say something like, hey, let's do this or something. But it turned into, yes, I purposely call her fat and she's so fat. And I never call my daughter fat, you know, but it turned into I'm abusive and call her fat and call her names. Just like I purposely burn her with cigarettes, just like everything little thing that if I would say it in her best interest, it would turn into that, I may being a big meanie. And beyond that, I'm not just being a meanie, I'm abusive and I'm in all this stuff. And I'm a saint compared to my parents when they were raising me. Um, I actually got hit when I was a kid and I never raised a hand to my kid. So, you know, like I said, going in back, would I do things differently? Yes, you make more mistakes with your first kid. Yes. But this whole stalking and PPO charging that people use, um, it's wrong. And I've had to deal with getting treated like this because her mom's hurt and then she's hurt when the fact is that they're the ones that left me. They're the ones that dumped me. My daughter's the one that abandoned me. I would never abandon my daughter. I always tried to keep communication with her. So, and then for her to be, I think some of this comes from anger. I think where I'm angry, so I'm going to punish you. What did I do? I always tried to keep communicating. I would never leave. And I think I've always believed that if me and her sat down and talked, things would get straightened out and she'd learn stuff. You see how much I communicate. I communicate like crazy and talk about stuff in videos and send messages to her and all this stuff. And apparently that's harassment. I mean, this video I have to put out after the fact I think this probation thing is over with on this ridiculous stalking thing from her. Um, because if she watches this video, she's going to turn around and say, "Oh, yep, he's saying stuff that I don't like," and they got me in trouble for posting a YouTube video where it wasn't. I didn't even know she was watching my YouTube videos. So she would purposely go and watch my videos, and somehow I was harassing her, but she's watching my videos when it wasn't even directed towards her. It was just me talking about my story, which I wanted to do. It helps me. I see a shrink right now because I have issues because of this, and I've seen multiple ones in the past because this is really hard for me. And you know, and they say, hey, yes, it's good for you to get this out and talk about it. And I think it's good for me to talk about this stuff too, share my story to let people know what the hell is going on. I'm going to do another video that talks about how I was basically the judge just said, we're taking your child from you and didn't even give me a reason. Like I said, I get treated like I'm some abusive, horrible person, and I'm not. And I never touched, laid a hand on her. I never abused her in any way. And was I the perfect parent? No. But to say that, you know, an abusive person is wrong. I mean, I'm a human. If I get treated the way I get treated, I'm going to be angry about it. Yes. If I'm abandoned and you take away my kid, or my kid says you're abandoned, I want nothing to do with you. Well, what do you think that does to me? After fighting for years and trying so hard, I'm going to be angry. And you can't fault somebody and say they're just an angry person and they're an abusive person when they got a damn good reason to be angry and hurt. And I do. So, anyway, share this with you. I'm going to talk next about a video about talking about basically how judges and lawyers can just turn around and kidnap your child from you with no reason given, and and they get away with it.